Good evening, everyone. It's a change tonight. It's me in the hot seat. So, welcome to the Villa Park podcast. We have got Rich here, but unfortunately, he's a little bit under the weather. Basically, he was singing far too much at our 7th win on the bounce, and I think he's lost his voice a little bit, so he's feeling a bit rough. So, I've got Rich here. I've also got Martin Leonard here as well. So, guys, how are you both doing? We'll come to you first, Mark.
Yeah, doing good. It's great to get a win. I was also at the Leinster and Harlequins game. If anyone's here is a Harlequin fan, unfortunately, well, I'd say fortunately, it was 62-0 to Leinster in the Heineken Champions Cup, and bit of a battering. I enjoyed every minute of it, of course. And then I went into a pub called TP Smith's to watch Aston Villa beat Forest 2-1. So it was a great day all round, and even great weather.
Awesome. That's what we like to see. Rich, I bet we thought it was going to be 62-0 after about 15 minutes ourselves. I take it you were singing quite a bit, mate. How are you feeling now?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Obviously, I've done two shows today. If anyone's been watching them, you'd have heard my voice isn't the best after a little bit of a sore throat prior to the game, but then only made worse by singing at the Witten Arms and obviously in Villa Park yesterday after a great victory that we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah, and of course you did you do 3 shows on Friday, 2 shows today. So obviously Rich is going to be back on the dating market soon because his missus is going to kick him out clearly at some point. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for all those eligible women for Rich, if that's okay. Right, listen, enough of this. Another win for Aston Villa. It's becoming a bit of a habit now, which is fantastic. And if anyone can tell me, this is our biggest, most consecutive winning run since. Either of you guys know?
Ron Saunders
Ron
time,
Saunders
isn't
is
it?
the only one,
Yeah. Is it something
He was
like
he was the first manager
1983
who
or
had
something?
consecutively 2 15 unbeaten home runs, and that's Emery's done that for the first time since him.
Okay, well, the unbeaten home runs is obviously a fantastic one. I know they're not all been wins, but actually to win 7 matches in a row, wow. I mean, considering obviously the topsy turviness of the season, it's absolutely amazing. So let's get into the game. The first thing to discuss is I was quite surprised at the amount of changes. So Mark, let's come to you first, mate. What did you think of the rotation from Emery for this match?
Well, I thought the rotation from Emery, and it's such a big game. I was a little bit nervous as to why he's done that. Is he setting his sights on the Champions League against PSG? Is he resting the big players for that occasion? But then I was looking at the lineup before I even seen that. I had seen 7 rotations, and then when I saw the lineup, I was actually thinking to myself, "That's actually really good." With the balance of Garcia and Matson playing in full back, Onana and Tielemans playing as a pivot. So I thought it was a really good balance of the team, and it performed really well in the first half. Getting 2 goals in the first 15 minutes, really putting our foot behind the gas. And I thought it was really a tactical genius from Emery to do that. But then the second half probably wasn't so much as I'd expected. But obviously we'll go on to that later in the show. But to get 3 points from it was crucial.
Yeah, Rich, did you think it was a bit of a risky move from Unai?
I mean, it's always that case, isn't it? When you make so many changes, 7 or 8 changes, you're expecting that type of thing in a like a Carabao Cup second round game or something, let alone a Premier League game against a team that's 3rd in the league. However, sort of speaking to people when we were, in the pub before the game, I think it was like a quite a bit of excitement as well. It was like, well, what can these players do? Garcia's done well when he's come in. Matson's done well. And I think that was something to do with maybe facing Hudson-Odoi and Elanga and trying to compensate for that pace. Our record signing is Amadou Onana. He needs some minutes at some point, and then a lot of people were clamoring for Donyell Marlon to start. So I think a lot of it was excitement, but also, yeah, you're right, maybe a bit of trepidation to see how they might gel together, because that's always the risk, isn't it? When you make so many changes that don't quite gel. But thankfully, it seemed to work well. Certainly that first half.
Well, listen, let's just try something out now. Pull up the lineup again, and let's look at this team now. And tell me, obviously, you guys, and tell me in the comments, was there anyone when you saw that team sheet that you were worried about starting for Aston Villa in a big game? Was there anybody you thought, oh God, was there any Borja Bastons or Danny Drinkwaters or anybody at all? Maybe not quite that level, but anyone you were like, oh God, I'm not sure about them at all. Anyone?
No, to be honest, I wasn't worried at all. I think the balance of the lineup was perfect. You have Garcia, who likes to bomb up and down the wings, and Malin, who's comfortable playing anywhere across the front four, can drift inside, even go out wide when he has the chance. I thought Ian Matson was incredible, because Mings could cover him, Onana and Tielemans can shift to that side if needed. And then Disasi was absolutely incredible. So, and then you've got Asensio as well, who was roaming freely around the pitch, and Rodgers, who was so effective from the left, giving Matson that space that he needed. I wasn't really worried at all with that lineup and how the game went.
Yeah, Richie, it says a hell of a lot, doesn't it, about our squad, that you can obviously get the point that I'm making, that I didn't look at that lineup and think, oh God, I was excited, as you guys have said. And clearly there's an eye on the Paris game, but it just goes to show, doesn't it, that you almost feel like it's happened kind of like surreptitiously, like no one's really noticed it. And now the media are saying, my God, Villa have built a great squad. Even probably Villa fans, we probably didn't realise how good it was. When you consider, of course, that Bailey's not in it, Barkley's not in it, Lamar Bogard obviously has played a big part this season. Has played some key games. I know almost now we won't even get near the squad. It says a lot, doesn't it, Rich, about just how much we've developed this team over the last couple of years and how we are now a real proper outfit.
Absolutely, and like I said, I think the only slight concern, I wouldn't even say it was a concern, I was more intrigued, was Disasi and Mings. I don't know if they've played centre-back. Is that another centre-back partnership? I don't know if they've played together yet this season. So that was kind of a bit intriguing to me. But you look at the quality of the bench as well, and we've kind of covered this the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's crazy to see, like, when we've been previous seasons, even last season, I think someone tagged me in a post the other day about our bench last season, at this time last season, to what it is this season. And like, once you got past, I think, Duran and I think it was one other player, it was like, with all due respect, it was Callum Chambers, it was a couple of other young lads. And now you've got a ridiculous quality off the bench that, as I've said before, can come on and shore up a game if need be. It can come on and change a game if need be. You can make a triple substitution, a quadruple substitution if you want. You can make changes at half time. It just gives Unai Emery so many options. So yeah, it's just brilliant to see what we've got at the moment. And then now to get that result with starting that team has kind of proven now that he can pretty much put lots of different pieces in the jigsaw puzzle, and it'll work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we'll get into obviously the players' performances, what it means, the ramifications, and all that. Obviously, just the usual admin. Please like the video if you can. Obviously, we are really pushing towards 6K subscribers. So yeah, we would really appreciate the support. If you can subscribe as well, that'd be amazing. If you like what we do, loads of content coming. You can tell that because obviously I'm hosted and Richie's losing his voice with so many videos. So you can see the effort that we're putting in. We'll have to put on a bit of a rasp, Martin, to make it feel like we're bad as well. And of course, if you do want to donate to the channel, any super chats or become a member, then all the information's there. If you need any more information on that, let us know. I will read out a few comments. I know you've obviously popped a few on the screen, but yeah, Thristos is in the house. Did not expect it from Emery. He never makes so many changes. Only League Cup matches. He was surprised. I think we all were, and I think it's probably a risky decision that's worked out well. Gary's here. Hi, Gary. We've got 2 teams of international players near enough. Absolutely correct. Do you guys think it would have been different had we lost 3-2, 4-2? If they come back into the end, do you think there would have then been some slight knives out for Emery?
Yeah, there would have been, absolutely. There would have been this negativity going on Twitter, as Villa love a bit of a Twitter meltdown, but there would have been this, like, why did Emery change it so much? Has he got a sight set to the Champions League? Are we giving up on the league and just concentrating on the FA Cup and the Champions League? But thankfully that wasn't the case, so we kind of have to trust Emery, and which is the old cliche, we do trust Emery. But now the fact that we have such a big squad, every single player can make an impact. It's not a case of being worried who's going to do their job, who's not going to do their job. Everyone is going to do their job. And it just goes to show that competition for places to be solidified is going to be really hard for this team.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have been criticised in terms of starting with that team had we have lost 3-2. I think the only thing he probably, and he was quite close to this situation, and I'm sure we'll come to it in a bit, but maybe for not making the changes soon enough, I think he could have been criticised for, because you could see we were losing that midfield battle, and maybe had Forest got it to 2-2 before he made those changes, he would have left himself quite open to that criticism, because we're going to talk about it in a bit, but Onana kind of really hit a wall basically on about 55, 60 minutes, because I don't think he ran in that second half. Like, I think he just gassed himself out. So that would have been where he'd have hit the criticism.
Yeah, well, listen, let's go back to the lineup. I mean, obviously there was, and particularly, the early part of the match obviously was such a fantastic whirlwind beginning, almost reminiscent of the early days of Unai Emery. That rip-roaring 3-1 against Man United, who we never used to beat. Plenty of games where we sort of almost took it away from teams in the first half. And this is a team that are third in the league, absolutely rightfully third in the league in terms of the teams that have beaten and the run they've been on. And we're 2 up in absolutely next to no time. And I'm sure we all agree, the quality of the goals is fantastic. We can talk about them, but I mean, that first one, Rodgers, the sumptuous touch with the right foot, the calm, assured, clinical finish with the left. Some player, isn't he, Rich? Morgan Rodgers.
Yeah, and I've, in our WhatsApp chats, I get a bit of a debate with Sam and a couple of others, because he does frustrate me at times, because there are elements of decision making and sort of quality at certain passes or certain times where he's found wanting. However, yesterday he was excellent. He stuck to his task really well. He was asked to play in a number of different positions. He was a threat going forwards. He competed in every element, whether it was defensively or moving forward. And to top it off, he scored a brilliant goal. And the pass from Youri Tielemans was just phenomenal. The thought from Rodgers to make that run was brilliant, because he saw Morata make it, messing with his shin pads. I don't know if you've seen that. He kind of bent down to pull his socks up. Saw that. Then the touch with the outside of the foot straight into his path, and then the left foot finish, fantastic. And then, in that second half, he could have got his second goal, not if it wasn't for a brilliant save from Sells. So he had a really, really good performance yesterday, and we keep talking about it. I mean, even with those frustrations, even with that development that he's got to go still, and how high his ceiling is with Aston Villa, even with that, he's still like an unbelievable footballer. He's to get him for what was it, 8 or 9 million plus add-ons. That's going to take it up to about 14 to 15 million. And you've got, Mason Mount going for 60, 70, 80 million or whatever it is. It's just ridiculous. And Emery and the scouts have kind of, they're ahead of the curve. They're ahead of the game. Like, you look at the type of midfielder, you look at the type of attacking player that teams are looking at now, and Rodgers is the prototype for that forward player. 6'3", 6'4", fast, got technical ability, can play it with both feet. We're at we're the spearhead for that type of player, and we've got him. We've got him, and that's so exciting.
I think it says a lot as well, doesn't it? If you consider like so many transfer fees you could use for comparison here, so many. I mean, a Philogene 20 million to Ipswich, obviously great potential. Didn't really do it with us at the start of the season, and I'm sure he'll go on to have a decent career. But the level difference in terms of Rodgers to Philogene, for example, is unbelievable, right? Doesn't it not say a hell of a lot that the reason we got him for that fee was because he hadn't ever really realised his potential, and he's doing okay stuff. But the magic of Unai and the coaching, and the scouting team and the coaching team, of course, to get him there, they've spotted something, Martin. They've seen that potential there. If he was absolutely flying, you'd be paying 40, 50 million quid for him. They've spotted the talent. They've brought him in. They've done an amazing job almost to dip him into into the sheep dip and bring him out a claret and blue Aston Villa player. It's just a phenomenal job all round, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. When we signed him in January of 2024, and then he wasn't exactly the level that he is now. Of course, he had to learn his time. He had to be effective when he could be effective. And I think one thing that I saw against Forest is that he's so effective from the left, where he was, when we first signed him, coming in on the inside, making that reverse pass, looking to get the shot off. And then obviously when you had a pre-season, that probably just set the world alight for him, to really knuckle down and get a bit of rest period in for himself, and of course focus on technical abilities, everything that he could wish he could have done had he signed in the summer. But it just goes to show the level that he's at now, and the level of the scouting from Emery and Monchi and Vitagani and other scouts that are in there. I mean, another player as well you could probably mention is Andreas Garcia, signing him ahead of the curve. He's been effective when he's come in. He's learning his time now, and probably say come the summer and after pre-season, you could probably turn around and say Andres Garcia is going to be one of the next best players. And it just goes to show how ahead we are with our scouting, that we're bringing in players early on a bit of a cheaper value, and then they get to such a high stock that some of these clubs go, well, now we can't afford them. Now we have to try and see can we get somebody else in the door and make that gamble. But not also make that gamble. You have to get the coaching right. And that's exactly what Emery has done. He's made Rodgers this world beater into an international team with England, performing in the highest caliber competitions in the Champions League. And for Garcia, he's come in and he's really set the world alight for us, I think personally, doing really well in the FA Cup, done well in the league when he's called upon. So it just goes to show that these Emery signings have made such a huge impact to our team, not just on the pitch, but also off the pitch with the scouting.
I think, just quickly, and also I think Rodgers has said this, and Emery's probably done this with a number of players. Like, he's not. And this is a great thing about Unai Emery. I don't actually think, like, this might sound bad, but I don't think he likes the players. I.e., he is a manager who will challenge the players. You see some of these coaches, and I've said it loads of times about the coaches and that, and they've got call their players by their nicknames, and they'll call.
It's not Steve McLaren, is it?
No,
it's not Stevie G and Frank,
and then they'll be matey, and all that sort of stuff. I don't think they don't quite know where they stand with him, and he doesn't like them. As in, he likes them because they're good at their job. But he's not going to go out with them and do all, and call them up, be all pally with them.
Business and personal, which is exactly how you should do it.
Yeah, and the thing that he's done with Rodgers, and Rodgers has said this, is he challenged him. He basically said, "You're not doing what you're capable of doing, and I need you to do what you're capable of doing." And that's basically what he's done. Like, it's not. He knew he had the ability. That's there for everyone to see. That's why Man City signed him from West Bromwich Albion. So he already had the ability, but he wasn't doing it. So Unai Emery has challenged him and said, "You're not doing what you should be doing. Why not? Do it." And that's essentially what he's told him to do. And then he keeps telling him that he's not as good as he's not good enough, and he's not at the level that he should be at, which is exactly what you should tell every single footballer. Don't tell them that they're brilliant, and then tell them that they've already achieved everything. You know,
I absolutely agree. I mean, and it's that classic quote, isn't it? Always leave them wanting more. And for us, absolutely. Just because we've come, and we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? Well, should we be happy now because we were in the Championship a few years ago that we finished 7th in the league, or we get to a cup quarter final, whatever. But I'm a huge believer in, if you don't reach your potential, then what have you got? But to reach your potential, you need to be absolutely on it. And an era where, let's be honest, things are a lot softer. You're not saying it's not important to have your feelings and thoughts listened to, but the top end of professional football is no playground. It's a hell of a pressure from a commercial perspective. Absolutely, Emery does have the respect to the players. Michael, absolutely bang on. And he's got professional distance. Cheers for that, American villain. It's commercially absolutely critical for these clubs to do what they need to do to have the success they need to have. Because as we've seen, you could be getting points deductions, you could be going out of business. Obviously, for these players, it's short careers, and you want a manager that's going to absolutely squeeze every last drop out of you. On that note, by the way, just read Rachel's comment. Isn't it funny the players have run through a brick wall for him, but he isn't the most personable with them like Dino was? Absolutely, and there's a number of ways to skin a cat, isn't there?
Yeah.
But one player I wanted to raise to talk about, who is, I think, the epitome of a player that probably we thought had achieved loads in his career and was maybe on the wane, and has seemingly under Emery become arguably our best player, and that's Youri Tielemans. And that pass yesterday was, I think, epitomised him in terms of what his ability is with the ball, and that sets up for the win yesterday. What do you reckon to this? I wouldn't say renaissance, but I think he did drop a bit towards the end of the time at Leicester. The people saying he was overweight. He was past it. He's been professional football since he's been just turned 16. I think he was when he started breaking down the Anderlecht team. So over 10 years, played a lot of games, hardly ever injured. He comes to Villa, and I mean, he's incredible, isn't he, Mark?
Yeah, when we signed him, it was announced on the day of the Champions League. Funny enough, when Man City were playing Inter Milan, that's when it was announced that we signed him on a free deal. And Leicester fans, I remember, were just saying, this is not a good deal for Villa. He's no legs. He doesn't track back. Although he's great on the ball, but he won't do your hard work for you. But since then, he's gone strength for strength on this off-ball stuff. You don't see him sitting down. You don't see him, settling in an area. He's constantly running, trying to win the ball back. And as well as his technical ability on the ball, to pick at that pass from Morgan Rogers was incredible, and how he plays himself in between the lines, gets himself into really good positions to make passes like that. That's something I don't think can be coached. Not even Emery could do that. You have to have that or you don't have it. And that's what he's got. I say what Emery has coached him to do is lose the weight, get yourself fit, start to work on your defensive stuff. You have the football and ability. It's now time for you to work on this area of your game. And that's exactly what he's done. And we can see how effective he is. We see the distance he covers in every single game. He's covering 10 kilometers plus, which goes to show he's not a lazy player whatsoever, like Leicester fans have been saying for years. And obviously now big clubs are probably raging at the fact that they didn't get Tielemans on a free deal. But then again, would he have the same attitude at these big clubs as he's have under Villa and under Emery? Maybe not. But I just really do think this was a shrewd piece of business from Aston Villa and from Emery to get this done early.
And Rich, I was going to say as well, this is a guy that started the FA Cup game, every single one, every single Champions League game, every single Premier League game. And as Mr. Green says, is he having the best midfield campaign in Villa's history? The consistency, the reliability, the conditioning, the output. What do you reckon?
He's got to be up there. I mean, we're probably old enough to remember that, the likes of Kevin Richardson, captain for our runner-up season in the Premier League, Andy Townsend, inspirational captain for the Carling Cup, the League Cup successes. So
Conor Harahan weren't bad in the promotion season, was he as well? Big shout out to Conor.
Conor with the bending like Hurahan.
He's not a Tielemans. He's not a Tielemans.
He's not.
Let's just have it right.
For that situation, big credit to Conor.
He used to hide. But Tielemans is, as Kevin says, bordering on world class, and I would suggest he's gone under the radar in terms of, as Aston Villa probably do with the kind of big six conversation. But he's gone under the radar with how good he is in midfield. And what I love about Tielemans is he does everything in 3 touches or less. He does everything in 3 touches or less. So that means that he's already knows where he's going to go before he gets the ball. And as Martin says, that's something that you can't coach. He has that ability to have a look before he receives the ball. That's what you tell every young player to do, but he's got that in him already. And we talk about Boubacar Kamara, being at the risk of going to another club or going to one of the so-called big boys. But I actually thought about this today. Could Youri Tielemans be on the radar for a Manchester City or a Liverpool or a Madrid or a Barcelona? Because, like I say, you move the ball as quickly as he does. You have the vision and the instincts that he does. I mean, you look at the pass that he put through for John Duran for his goal against Manchester City. That is just incredible. That's probably pass of the season. What he did yesterday, how he spots that so quickly and just puts it on a sixpence. The only thing that you could probably criticise him slightly for, not criticise him, that you would want a little bit more from him is goals at the moment, because he scored a couple of goals. In the Champions League, he scored against Arsenal, but he probably needs to score 1 or 2 more goals. That's the only thing you would say. But he is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
He can hit one from range too. We've seen it throughout the years.
We have seen
it. Yesterday, he can hit one from outside the box. We've seen it in the FA Cup against Chelsea many years ago, on the edge of the box and putting in the top corner. I do agree with you there, Rich. I do wish he did do more of that, getting it on the edge of the box and just absolutely hit one. Now, he did try one there against Forest, didn't go anywhere, but that just goes to show, have the confidence to do it. Because if you don't do it, you don't know what's going to happen.
What do you think, Kev? What do you think?
Well, the interesting thing about Tielemans as well is that, and I don't think this has ever really been on anyone's radar at all. We talk about the PSR situation, saleable assets. Well, clearly a player you got for free going to someone for, I don't know, 60, 70 million at 27 years old is phenomenal deal for the books and for profits. Now, none of us want that to happen, but I'm just saying in this era with what's happening, who knows? Maybe he wants to, if he wins a trophy with Villa this season, Villa get an unbelievable offer. Is he someone that could be on the radar of these clubs, but also on the radar of Villa in terms of it being a good deal? As horrible as that sounds from the heart perspective, from a head perspective, it probably makes a lot of sense. I think he's absolutely amazing. I think he's been brilliant. And I remember he couldn't get in the team at first. And, like a few players with Emery, they take a bit of time to bed in. And that's why I've still got high hopes for Maatsen, who we'll come on to very shortly. Anana, I still think Barkley, people thought, was Barkley basically, you're not going to, stick around after this season. I still think at his age and what we can offer, I still think he'll offer a load as well. But yeah, Tielemans, I think you could level it all in the midfield. They don't score enough goals, basically, which is why bringing in the Rashfords and the Asensios and the Marlins, obviously, he's great. But yeah, listen, just talking about him there. Great comments, by the way, everyone, regarding Youri. I think we all have that same sort of love for him. The second goal really was the one that ended up obviously winning us the game. Obviously, Forest got one back. And how great after getting his first goal in the week, for the Dutch dynamo, as I'm going to call him, Daniel Marlon, getting on the end of that cross. Just brilliant to see, wasn't it? And shout out to Maatsen. Someone put it in the comments, actually, about it was almost Tony Morley-esque in the Rotterdam final 82. That jinky in and out run from Maatsen. Obviously, great ball. And then, on the end of it, smashed it into the net. Daniel Marlon. Rich, please for him.
Oh, I'm absolutely buzzing. I wish I could get his song. I wish I could do the rendition of his song that I've created. It's got to be better than Marlon. We need to adopt my song, people, please.
I like it.
But I'm not going to sing it right now. But yeah, I'm buzzing for him. He's got that directness about him. He was, it was a good game for him because there was a lot of space out wide. So Garcia was pushing up quite well, and then he was able to, either pull out wide to receive the ball to go 1v1, or he was able to make a run inside to kind of get the ball in the kind of space between the centre backs. So that was really good for him. And Yeah, man, he's a goal scorer, isn't he? He put him into positions, 2 different goals, one really good finish against Brighton where he just thought, sod this, I'm going to hit it, and then one where he's ghosted at the far post, got his body in a great position to kind of put it in the net, and yeah, brilliant finish, and I'm really pleased for him. Just needs to get that fitness up because, as I say, with one or two of the other players, he did really fade in that second half, and we kind of need, which is understandable, but we kind of need that kind of level to be maintained throughout the game, and that's important. But when we've got these options, Marlon, Ramsey, Asensio, Rashford, Watkins, McGinn, who can play further forward, Leon Bailey, who's not even fit yet. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Well, another man who's not a regular starter obviously set that goal up. We mentioned the fantastic wide play from him. Martin, great to see Ian Maatsen have that kind of effect, and I thought was one of the standout players, particularly in the first half. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, he did really well. All his defensive works were excellent. The balls into the box were absolutely incredible. Hence the goal from Marlon.
Yeah.
To really do a little dink inside, then to touch on the outside to really confuse the defender and just get a low early cross into the box, and hopefully a runner will gamble on it. And thankfully, it was Marlon. The Dutch connection, or as you could say, the old Dortmund connection. The two used to really link up well over there, and now they're linking for Villa against Forest. What's to say that, obviously not in the Champions League, but the game against Southampton, would Ian Maatsen and Marlon get their starts there to continue this connection, to continue getting the early balls in the box, because Maatsen knows Marlon's going to make them runs on the inside and try to gamble on them. So it was a really good performance from Ian Maatsen, I have to say, and he's probably thrown his name in the hat for a bit of a contention to start on Wednesday night.
Well, yeah, competition for places is real. You definitely seen that somewhere else, whether that's, the Dortmund training where it's on the Dutch camp. That combination's definitely been there before, isn't it? And great to see. Rachel just popped in the comments. Obviously, if you haven't seen it already, obviously we don't mind you listening occasionally to other podcasts. 1 or 2 a month is fine, other than us. But all jokes aside, the Villa one is great. Kate Tracy, Alan McAnally, and the interview with Villa TV. You can get it on a podcast. You can obviously get it on YouTube. I think it as well is great. I think it's another great example, obviously, of the coaching, because if you think about the scouting, think about the style of players that we're buying and the attitude that they've got. You've only got to see Onana and the way he talks in interviews. I mean, just absolutely tremendous. You've only got to see how erudite Morgan Rogers is, how fantastic.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yeah. Jacob Ramsey, obviously, when he was interviewed with Rogers about obviously the arrival of Asensio and Rashford, talking really well. It's just great to see. And Marlon's another one. I mean, obviously, he's had an unbelievably disappointing moment by not being named in the Champions League spot when he's signed as a perm. And yet his attitude towards it is there'll be more Champions League campaigns, and we can do something special this season. And what I'm loving about it is every player at the moment has got something that they can say that they're adding to it. Even players that aren't really even involved. Bailey obviously got a key goal against Bruges, despite not having a great season. Barkley scored a winner, didn't he, against Leipzig, and a key of the goals to get us points in the league. And even the players that aren't involved of having key moments. So it's just absolutely great to see. It's just great to see. I think we've got positive, and I think we all agree, hopefully, that the position that we're in as a club, we can't take away from the massive part in that he's played in terms of Ollie Watkins. But is his form at the moment a concern for you, Richard?
Not really. I mean, he's there's a lot of comments coming in about him, and I can understand it to a certain extent based on his performance yesterday. I'm not sure what the situation was yesterday, whether he's, Emery sort of said he's had a knee injury that he's trying to nurse him back from. He certainly wasn't making the runs that he maybe could have, that he has done previously against, any team. He wasn't really getting involved as he could have done. But, when was his last goal? Was it Brentford to get the winner just before the international break? Well, it's not like he has. It's not like it's like loads of games that he hasn't scored in. He didn't start against Preston. He came on and missed a couple of good chances. He didn't start against Brighton. and he started yesterday. So that was his first start since the Brentford game. So I'm not really that concerned. We've got bloody, 11, 12, hopefully 14 matches to go this season. I'm sure he's going to get some more goals. I'm sure he's going to continue to kind of play his part. And I think there was a comment from John that, without his goals, we wouldn't be in this position where we are right now. And that's this season and last season. And I think it's Aston Villa updates on X. He's still got the highest number of goal contributions from any player for Aston Villa this season. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Obviously, Martin, there's a lot of Villa fans that do. I don't want to use the word scapegoat because I think their opinion is absolutely valid. And look, there's been times this season where, before we have this 7-game winning run, I think it's absolutely right to say that the amount of big chances he'd missed had cost us. He's a big striker for us. Obviously, he was out of the team for a bit. I think he was dropped, wasn't he, for Duran, because Duran was scoring in every game. So I don't think that was.
But that's fine though. I don't really understand what the problem is there. Like, we're talking about what a great squad we've got.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I don't understand what the problem is there. Like, for us, yeah, we can talk about for players. Sorry, they want to play every game. I understand that, but from our perspective, it's like, okay, I don't know. Kamara was out the team yesterday. Does that mean that he's Onana's suddenly better than him? I don't know. I know goalkeepers and strikers are always the ones who get the most criticism because they're the ones who win you the points or cost you the points. I get that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Watkins is a player. If he leaves, and he possibly will do, we will miss what he brought more when he's not here. When we're looking at another striker and saying, he doesn't do what Ollie Watkins did.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just depends the level of the club you're at the time and who you bring in to replace. But look, I'm in the Watkins fan club. I just think obviously he has these patches which are purple and patches which are fruitless. I know fruitless isn't a colour. You get what I'm saying? I mean, Martin, where do you stand on this?
I'm starting to get to the point now. I'm a little bit annoyed with Ollie Watkins' inconsistencies. Like, I'm not turning into Sam people. Let's get that one out there, right? He's been criticism of Ollie Watkins because he wants more from him, which is understandable. But I'm at the point now where Ollie Watkins should be more consistent in front of goal and really shouldn't be missing all these big chances. Like, if you're a Premier League striker, you cannot be missing these big chances. Fair enough if we're only starting under the Unai Emery era where he needs to be coached to stay in the middle, which was what he was told at the beginning. Remember when he had the interview with, Shields from Soccer AM, that Emery told him just stay in the middle. That's exactly what he done, and he got more goals from it. So now he's at the stage of he needs to be doing a hell of a lot more than what he is, in my opinion. Now, am I expecting 30 goals a season from him? Absolutely not, because the goals now can come from all around the pitch. But in saying that, he needs to be doing a lot more. His whole of pay this season hasn't really been good. Yes, he's still probably our top goal scorer and has the most goals contributions in the team. But you should have a lot more than what he has now. And
but Emi Martinez should have more clean sheets. Does that mean Emi Martinez isn't a good goalkeeper?
No, and you're right. And I would agree on that as well, that Emi Martinez should have more clean sheets because he has given away a lot. But in saying that, I think Ollie Watkins' threat might be underplaced this summer. Because
I agree
you've got
with
Marcus
that.
Rashford, who was playing in the middle for the last while, and he's getting himself a couple of goals in great positions where Ollie Watkins probably doesn't score, in my opinion, because it's 50-50 that way. But I seen a stat the other day that Ollie Watkins played 62 minutes against Forest, only had about 9 touches of the ball and didn't get one single shot off, where Marcus Rashford was on the pitch for about 15-20 minutes, and he had about 20 touches of the ball, and he had 2 shots off. What does that tell me? That tells me Ollie Watkins at the minute. And
it's a different.
He's not quite there.
Martin, it's a different stage of the game, mate. If Ollie Watkins had come on after 60 minutes, Ollie Watkins would probably had 25 to. Like, this is all relative, isn't it? He didn't have a good game yesterday.
Rich
didn't have a good game yesterday. Hang on. Let me finish. He didn't have a good game yesterday. That's fine. but it's a difficult one to say, oh, well, Rashford came on and had 20 touches, Ollie Watkins had, because the game is completely different. Nottingham Forest were matching us man for man, and there was space in behind at that point because they were just going, right, let's just go for it. It's more nuanced than that. I'm not saying that Ollie Watkins didn't have a good game yesterday. He didn't. Now maybe that is he's not fully fit. I don't know. Maybe it is he's a little bit out of form. But as I said, in his last start for Villa, he scored the winning goal against Brentford.
But even before that, he's still showing in games now where he's not having good games. Is that because he's under pressure from players that?
When?
But when did he have a good game before the Brentford game? Like he hasn't really exactly set the world alight this season when he should have.
But
he came off the back of summer being a hero, and to what now? Like the inconsistency he's showing this season.
But Emi Martinez has been the same. John McGinn has been the same.
And I'm not justifying Emi
Leon
Martinez.
Bailey's been the same.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But he's just.
I just think it's an easy target to say Ollie Watkins isn't good enough when he's scored the most goals for us in the last 5 seasons. He's had a ridiculous number of goal contributions. And you got people like Gary who are loving the chat saying, "Oh, sign Liam Delap." Liam Delap's had half a good season. But Liam Delap
only has 1 goal less than Ollie Watkins in a struggling team.
Yeah, so but he's not gonna.
Imagine you put him in a Villa and getting these big chances.
That's happened countless times in the Premier League. A player has had a good season for a lower level Premier League club, or a great season for a Championship club, and they go, "Oh, go and sign him. He'll be brilliant at a better season, at a better team," and they'd flop. Now, I'm not saying that Liam Delap isn't a great player or a good player, but we're talking about a player who's had half a season where he's been good.
Yeah, just
missed more chances than what he scored. You know, like he's missing all these big chances.
Yeah, so, that is what it is.
I'm just going to back up your point, Rich, as well. That obviously when Watkins came on against Preston, he had numerous chances. I mean, he didn't score them. He didn't score them, but the game was different, obviously, by that point then, and Preston were obviously then a bit more open, and then, he had like 2 chances in the first few minutes. But listen, this Watkins debate will rumble on. I mean, I am frustrated. I think I'm somewhere in between, really. I'm frustrated at the fact that I think if we'd not been on this amazing winning run and the contributions, obviously, albeit Watkins has contributed to it as well, of course, but, Asensio...
Like the winning goal against Brentford.
Yeah, which obviously is key, yeah. But I think it's a bit of a different opinion on it if we're now 10th in the league and out of the FA Cup, isn't it? I think then you probably look at it differently. But let's be clear, right? This guy has done unbelievable things for us. He's been loyal to this club. Obviously, it's been good for him as well in terms of contracts and stuff. And he's going to be our record Premier League goal scorer, and he's played a massive part of us getting here. And look, it's a good debate to have. It's healthy, obviously, to talk about this kind of stuff, but there's loads to play for this season. I'm absolutely convinced he'll play a key part in it, and he's a key part of the squad. And it's probably actually good that he's got this pressure, probably pressure we didn't see coming when Duran went, that we've got Marlon, we've got Rashford, we've probably even got a Rodgers that can play there. But look, we don't want to talk about Watkins all night. Let's talk about
one thing. Just it'd be interesting, just in the chat and in general, like how many goals would he need to score for people to say, "Oh, he's a great player"? If it's all about stats like goals and assists, how many? What does he need to do?
It's not about that, Rich. It's about the fact that he's missed so many chances. Like he needs, like at least in my opinion, the way I'm seeing it in the last few years now, and I'm only starting to.
So yeah, so how many? 6 or
7 chances to get 1 goal.
So how many? How many then?
It's not really about that. If he has a 15 goal a season, yes, you could say it's a great season. But when you look at the amount of chances he's missed, it's just then it's a bit underwhelming for him. He should have a hell of a lot more than what he's getting. Like these chances, yes, sometimes goalkeepers pull off worldy saves from them, and they're understandable. They happen in games. But when you have chances after chances after chances, and he only gets 1 from them, I just think it's not good enough. Like his movement off the ball is incredible. His hold of play can be good as well. He does all this works and stuff, which is good to Villa. But it gets to a certain point where you need to take that away from your game and let the wingers and just sit in the box and put them away.
So Erling Haaland then? Would you rather have?
It's not an Erling Haaland. I'm not expecting an Erling Haaland, right? I'm absolutely not. But Ollie Watkins, in my opinion, even though he has 13 goals this season, but the amount of chances that he's missed, he should at least be on 20, at least.
Shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
And you're right, and you're right in what you're saying. Emi Martinez should have more clean sheets, and you were absolutely right. But there's also defensive errors from the defenders in front of him that has cost him that too. But Ollie Watkins,
well, like I say, there's great saves from goalkeepers there's great saves from goalkeepers that stop Ollie Watkins from scoring.
Can I just ask a question? What do you think's talked about more at the moment in terms of contentious issues? Donald Trump, Adolescence, the TV show, or
Ollie Watkins,
Ollie Watkins, or the cost of living crisis?
Oh wow.
Ollie Watkins is going to be on Question Time soon.
I just think we're so. I just think in general we're so obsessed with goals and assists, and I obviously opened it up by saying he's got the most goals and assists. We're so obsessed with it, but it's like there's football more than that. And yeah, he didn't have a good game yesterday. That's fine. I'd take that point, but you know he's done so much for Aston Villa, and I think we will rue the whatever. We won't rue it, but we will look back on his time at Aston Villa if he does leave with great admiration when we're trying to talk about other players that are missing, other strikers that are missing chances. Like, every striker misses chances.
Well, listen,
and they do, and it's right. But
Martin,
you missed so much, sorry, Kev, I'll let you go on because we're only ranting on forever.
Yeah, listen. I'm going to move it on from Watkins. I'm going to move it on. I'm going to put my foot down here now. I'm not hosting often, so when I'm hosting, I'm going to put my flag in the sand. We can continue this debate. It's fantastic. Get the comments in as well. If you're not already, please give the video a like. I don't know if someone can tell me because I can't see it on my screen. How many we got watching at the moment?
Over 200. Over 200.
So that's fantastic. We love the support. Like, subscribe, support, member, donate, spread the word. That would be fantastic. We love the support. Whether we have this kind of raucous debate regularly, which is good. A couple of other players to give shout outs to. Great to see Onana getting some minutes because I think he's going to be valuable, obviously, in terms of the running. Disassi again coming on and shoring things up. A word for sort of some of these fringe players, Rich, in terms of the ones that maybe haven't seen as much minutes lately.
Yeah, I was impressed with Disassi. I thought he did really well. I was impressed with Garcia, as Martin said there. I was interested to know why he got taken off at half time because if there was a mistake that Emery made, in my opinion, if it wasn't an injury for Garcia, I think bringing Konsa on and putting Disassi at right back was a big mistake because that took away our attacking threat on that right hand side, and it meant that Hudson-Odoi didn't have any defensive responsibility, and that was a bit of a poor move for me. But Disassi defended well, did his job really well. We know how much he loves defending, and with regards to Onana, he looked really good in that first half. A little bit. Sometimes his first touch was a little bit wanting when he was put under pressure and he had to kind of slide tackle to get the pass off. But I think that's just a little bit of sharpness that will come. But, when he's striding through midfield and winning the ball, he's really good. He's really impressive. And obviously we've talked about Marlon and one or two of the others. So it bodes really well for future games, whether they're coming in again in the Champions League, whether they're coming in, in future Premier League games, they're all going to be able to do a job, which is great.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Disassi myself. He was so solid in the middle. I really felt that he was good there, but I don't know why we didn't bring on a Matty Cash as a straight replacement for Garcia. I felt that, that if something's not broke, don't fix it. So if it was an injury for Garcia, fair enough. But it should have been a straight swap, in my opinion. Keep Disassi where he's comfortable in that game. Or if you do want to change it around, maybe keep Konsa at right back. Because he's played there numerous times before. Just tell Konsa to play there for a while. But that didn't seem to be the case. And Onana, I thought, was absolutely excellent in the first half. Probably blew his gas a little bit, like Rich said earlier on, where after 55 minutes, he's blown, he's walking around the pitch because his just fitness levels just aren't there at the minute. So that change probably should have been the one made at halftime, in my opinion, to bring on Boubacar Kamara for Onana, just to keep the legs in midfield, because Forest in that second half were absolutely running over us in the midfield because because we didn't have the legs. And then it was probably a bit too late for Kamara to come on, in my opinion, because then you're trying to play catch up after 65, 70 minutes. And it just wasn't right. And even though they got one back from like a half chance, Forest still created numerous chances for themselves. And luckily for us, we did come away with 3 points, but it should have been a more comfortable win, in my opinion. So we should have put a Matty Cash on who can play that right back role more fluently, as opposed to Disasi when he was there struggling with players with pace. I felt Matty Cash could have dealt with that, and then Kamara in there just to sweep it up.
Well, I'm going to give Emery, not that he needs it from me, but a bit of credit here. I think the benefit of sort of hindsight sometimes is great and all that. But I think a lot of people have forgotten that actually we were under the cosh for quite a bit of that first half towards the end. And actually, I think he probably saw that and thought, hang on a minute, they're getting in. I mean, obviously Hudson-Odoi got in and nearly scored, flash on past Elanga, basically ran the whole length of the pitch and came in obviously down that right-hand side. And I think he probably thought the solidity of what he'll bring will probably shore it up a bit more than having maybe that exposure. So I can see why he made the change to try and think we've got a 2-0 lead. We're pretty good making chances, but obviously maybe in hindsight a Cash or Kim Garcia on would have been good. Look, we've had some great chat about obviously the players. We've talked a bit negatively, but as Michael's put in the comments there, as long as it all comes from a positive place, I totally agree, Mike. Absolutely correct. But let's just dwell for a second on the situation. We go back to that defeat at Wolves where Marlon did score his first goal, as far as I'm concerned, but we didn't get it. Go back to that Palace defeat, which is not that long ago, obviously, where again dodgy VAR decisions, but what felt like quite a damaging defeat. And there was a lot of people, including some people potentially live on the podcast now, not hosting tonight, but normally hosting, who were quite adamant that this Champions League's qualification, understandably as well, with how patchy our form was and how many teams were ahead of us, just wasn't going to happen. Well, enter Aston Villa, Unai Emery's Claret and Blue Marvels, 7 games in a row. There's clean sheets galore. And we're now in the league table. Well, look at that. We're 6th in the league table. And listen, lads, if Carlsberg did weekends, Chelsea drew, Man City drew, games which you probably thought they both would have won, obviously, against Brentford and obviously Man United, albeit away. Obviously, Fulham got a win, but Brighton lost. Bournemouth drew, and it's just Leicester basically tomorrow night away from us having the best weekend we could have hoped for in terms of cementing our position. And we are, Martin, right back amongst it now, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. It just goes to show I was one of those people in the group chat was saying Champions League football is gone, just forget about it, just focus on the FA Cup. And I'm not normally like that. I'm normally real cautious in my predictions and where we were going to finish in leagues and in the moments of everything and trying to have that faith. And after that 4-1 defeat against Crystal Palace, my confidence was just completely shot. I really just thought that Villa weren't really going to go anywhere. The signings haven't really done great for us, even though Asensio was scoring. He was the only one doing bits. But since then, Villa have just gone on a great run of form. The international break was good for them too. They got a good warm weather training. Everything then just started to align with players coming back from injury. And we've gone on this great run. And not also just gone on this great run, but kept so many clean sheets from it too. Defensively, we've been so solid. And now we're right back in the mix. And if I just get the league table back up just for a quick second, we still have to play Man City. We still have to play Newcastle. We basically now have to play all the teams around us. And if we win all them games, I think we can get as high as 4th, maybe even catch Forest if we can. Because it's just going to be a hell of a ride now for these next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, clearly with the pressures of an FA Cup, massive game, chance to get to a final, which I think compared to the 2000 final against Chelsea, the 2015 final, certainly against Arsenal, I think we will be heavily fancied. Even if it's Man City, I don't think it will be as one-sided as people would have thought it would have been even a year or two back. I think Villa will be seen as being really strong contenders for the trophy, certainly if we play Forest, I think, as well. And then you've got the Champions League. So clearly it's gonna be huge in terms of the pressure on the squad. But it's in our hands, Richard, now, and it's going to be hard, but it's now in our hands in terms of whether we finish in these positions or not.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play the teams around you in these situations, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been a caller on to Talk Sport had said we've actually done better against the teams around us than we have against the kind of teams that we, in quotes, should be beating. So in a lot of ways, it's good to be playing the likes of Newcastle, Fulham, Manchester City, because they are 6-pointers, in that sense. So that is really good. I still think it's going to be difficult to get the number of wins that we need to get with the other games that we've got around us to be able to finish in those Champions League spots. So I'm still going to say 6th. That's what I'm still going to say for me. However, there's as we've seen this weekend, there's strange results, or there's teams playing poorly. We have, I think, the best squad in terms of options right now of any team in the league. And if that's managed correctly, we can continue this run that we're on, which would be fantastic. If we can beat Southampton, and then if we can get 4 points from Newcastle and Manchester City, 5th is on. But I still think those 2 games are extremely difficult, and I want to see where we are after that, them 2.
Yeah, well, as Duncan said there, I was thinking the same thing myself. Today, Southampton have a relegation confirmed. You know what the old cliche is? They'll be relaxed now. It's basically like that they've smoked a big naughty cigarette, and they've had a few beers, and they're all calm and relaxed and chilled. And all of a sudden, they're going to play like the Harlem Globetrotters. Clearly, it won't be like that for the rest of the season because they're a shocking team. But if you were to say you've beaten Brentford in and around you, Brighton ahead of you, right? So clearly difficult games. Then you beat the team that are flying in terms of Nottingham Forest this season to get 9 points out of 9. What's the one team you'd want if you could pick the next team to play? You'd be asking for Southampton, wouldn't you? Just to
100%.
cement that. So it's an unbelievable opportunity, I think. We've obviously rotated players. It could be a banana skin, I think. Absolutely could be. But if you win that game, I mean, I thought, my God, beat Brentford, and give yourself a chance of being around it. You beat Brighton, we're back amongst it now. You beat Forest, and you said about the 6-pointer. Look at the juxtaposition. What a great word that is for a lad from Ward right? From the Forest Villa game and the Ipswich and Wolves game. At one point, there's 6 points gap between Ipswich and Wolves, and Ipswich are probably thinking, this is on now, this is on. That would have been, I think, a couple of wins in a row for them. Fast forward to the end of the game, it's 12 points. Villa, we lose that game to Forest. We're 12 points behind them. We're obviously way behind everybody else. And then all of a sudden, we're 6 points behind Forest. So it really does change everything. And if you look at the run in there, which you popped up on the screen, you could argue Villa's running is as challenging as anybody's. What do you think, lads? And any thoughts and comments on that at all in terms of what you can see? Anyone's running you fancy more than anybody else?
I think with Southampton coming up, I think is crucial. And then when you look at the other teams' fixtures, Bournemouth has Fulham. Them 2 will play each other, so you kind of hope for a draw there to really take them out of the equation altogether. Brighton and Newcastle have Leicester each respectively, but are we expecting a lot from Leicester? Possibly not. But when you look at the other fixtures that they have, like we have to play Newcastle, Man City, Fulham, and Bournemouth. I think those few weeks there, 12 out of 12 has to be the target. No more and no less, in my opinion, because if we drop points to any of them, it's going to be a hell of a long shot to try and get that top 5, top 4 spot, because then you got Tottenham and Man United. I argue they have been very poor, but recent history would suggest that, against Tottenham and Man United, we don't exactly have good records against them.
No.
So, in my opinion, we have to try and get 15 out of 15 in the next 5 games before we get to Tottenham and Man United.
Yeah, Rich, I was just going to say, there's no easy games now in the Premier League, other than maybe Southampton. There's no easy games. It's just some of those games that look easy.
Well, Leicester as well.
Well,
to be fair,
you say that, but I know they turned Spurs over about 3 months ago. I mean, look, we got 2 points out of 6 against Ipswich. So I know what you mean. Maybe Leicester and Southampton are fairly easy, but maybe the pressure's off. But there's some of the games on there that people are thinking that'll be an absolute gimme. And I'm not doing
yeah. I mean, and as Martin says, a lot of those, at any given week, you've got 4 teams, 5 teams, 4 teams, 6 teams that are in and around each other that are playing against each other. So that's a big factor in it. I think, and I'll always look at it as 2 points, averaging 2 points a game. So if you've got 14 points from the remaining 7 games, puts us on 65 points. Now, whether that's enough for 5th, I don't know. So you might need 16 points, something like that, from 7 games.
I think you need to win them all. I really do. I think you need to win all the games.
That's not happening. That's just not happening.
It might not happen, and again, it might as well. We've seen stranger things in the Premier League.
We ain't going to win 7 out of 7 now. Like, we're just not. I know we did 10 in a row in the Champions League, in the Championship. Sorry, but we ain't doing it. So, but equally, every other team in the same situation aren't going to win all of their games. We've seen the likes of Man City when they were incredible, going on a ridiculous winning run, but they are nowhere near that right now. They couldn't beat Manchester United today, so we know that they're not there. We know Brighton have been on a 4 winning run, but they've now lost 2 on the bounce. Bournemouth seem to be falling away. Fulham have results here and there. Newcastle are the biggest threat at the moment, but they've got 10 games left as it stands. They are going to drop some points, obviously, hopefully 3 of them against us. But yeah, I think you were going to need 68 points. So it's whether we can hit that level. Can we hit that level? Yeah. That's the key thing.
Do you know what I think is an interesting point to think about as well? I mean, we didn't actually have them on there. But I have a feeling, I might be wrong with this, right, that we maybe won't get past Newcastle. They've got the games in hand. I think they're a really good squad. Maybe we won't get past the Chelsea, but maybe all of us might get past Nottingham Forest.
Possibly.
That's the feeling I've got, because I just think like that. I mean, I know the results today were tremendous for Forest, because it meant obviously Chelsea and Man City didn't gain on them. But can you reel them in slowly? Maybe we don't get past the Newcastle. Maybe we don't need to. I think if obviously Forest keep on winning, obviously that will be a challenge. But again, they lost to us, and it was a second string team that basically put them to the sword in the first sort of 30 minutes and really did enough to win the game already in that. So I think they've got to look at that. I know we've got a great squad and we spoke about it, but they really had an opportunity there against a much changed Aston Villa team. Let's be clear, they'll be looking at that as a missed opportunity. They can talk about bad luck, but there was no contentious VAR decisions. Yeah, they had some bad finishing, but we also had some really good chances as well to score. It's a missed opportunity for them, and I just think you lose one more, and maybe we beat Southampton and they don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Psychologically, but
yeah.
I think I'm liable to agree. I think Newcastle will be a tough one to get past with 2 games in hand. Chelsea you don't know what you're going to get. Man City, you don't know what you're going to get. And I just think the momentum that we've got, it just depends how much he takes out of you, which is why it probably makes a lot of sense to make the changes we've made pre-PSG. Those 2 games are going to take a huge amount out of you. And
if you win those 2, you've got, another 2 games. I looked at the calendar and we play Man City on the 22nd now. We've got Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-final on the Saturday. Then if we get through in the Champions League, we've then got the first leg on the Tuesday or the Wednesday after the semi-final. And then we've got the Fulham in the league on the Saturday. And then we've got the next leg of the semi-final the week after that. It's a brutal schedule.
Isn't it amazing?
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Better than having 7 games left, thinking, is it going to be 14?
It's phenomenal. And then if we win in the FA Cup semi-final, we'll have the final on May the 17th, which is when we're meant to be playing Tottenham. So we'll play Tottenham, I imagine, the following midweek. So it's absolutely fantastic. But to expect us to win 7 out of 7 Premier League game, or not expect us, but to kind of have that, it's a big ask. It's a big ask for those players.
Can I ask an important question, Mark? I don't know if you know this. Everyone knows it in the chat. How many days is it for us we've got after our FA Cup final until the Champions League final? What kind of gap have we got between those 2 games? Are we going to play? And Martin, do you think we can keep the legs long enough to compete on both of those big occasions?
We'd have two. We'd have two games. We'd have 2 games in between.
Yeah, we'd have Tottenham and Man United after that, and then the FA Cup finals normally in around, the Champions League finals normally in around June.
Can you see a situation where we've got top 5 sewn up by then? I mean, there's so many permutations. Look, I would certainly say for us to continue this winning run with the caliber of opposition we've got now is going to be incredibly hard. And I think we've got to be realistic around what happens. But the big games keep on coming thick and fast. Clearly, there'll be a Champions League preview show coming out for the PSG game. It's a small matter of a little game in a European competition against a fairly well-known team, but this is what we wanted. We wanted to be amongst it. We wanted to be alive. And hey, what better preparation, Richard, than to come up to this game with winning the FA Cup games, all of those league games before. Confidence is high. Players should be fresh. We forget as well, we've got this big squad now, which is pretty much fully fit, so we should be able to compete. We couldn't have really prepared any better, could we, mate?
Oh, absolutely not. And look, people in the comments sort of saying keep the faith in that. I am absolutely buzzing, right? This is exactly what we've wanted. We wanted to be in the mix for Champions League football. We are in dreamland in the Champions League, and to be on the cusp of one game away from an FA Cup final, 2 games away from winning it and getting into the Europa League is absolutely phenomenal. All I'm saying is that, when we do our match predictions for every single game, we always predict an Aston Villa victory. And if it came off every time, we would be setting records for the best team to have ever existed.
Well, it has the last 7 times, hasn't it?
It absolutely has. Yes, but 30, but however many games we've played this season, we haven't, because we've drawn 8 or drawn 9 and lost 8.
VAR, though, isn't it? VAR.
Yeah. Come on. So just to put a little bit of realism into the situation, we're not going to win every single game. However, it is a phenomenal opportunity, and it is exactly where we wanted to be. And yeah, we've got a fantastic chance to beat Paris Saint-Germain in over 2 legs, and that's all you can ask. We've got players who can hurt them. We've got players in good form. We've got options to bring off the bench, as I've already said, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant opportunity for the players.
Well, to talk about realism just before we go, because it's been a great show again. Please, everybody, give us a like if you haven't already. Appreciate the support massively. Subscribe to the channel. Spread the word. Realism. Here's the biggest bit of realism. I realise with 7 games left that now we can't win the Premier League. We will be 1 point short, and probably the goal difference. We can't make up enough on Liverpool now. I don't think we can. I don't know if we. They can't get dot points, can they? They're on goal difference of plus 42. We're on 0, so I think we might have to say that might not be possible. But we have got the Champions League, albeit a tricky tie. We have got the FA Cup, which is probably our strongest chance for a trophy, and I think top 5's on. Martin, I'll come to you last. What do you think in terms of achievements this season? What do you think we can do? Not what you'd accept, or what would be good. What do you actually think we could do this season?
I think we can win the FA Cup. I do believe that. I think we can do that. I think we can get top 5. And I think...
Go on.
You can
do it. You can do it.
I think we can get to the final of the Champions League.
Wow.
I think we can do it. The reason why I think we can do it, and this is one reason, and one reason alone why I think we can do it.
Unai Emery.
I think the Unai Emery, the players will absolutely run through a brick wall from, and I think it would be so special for Tony Moley, who was looking over us.
Gary Shaw.
Well, Gary Shaw. Sorry, Tony. Didn't mean to wish you dead there.
Tony Moley had gone.
Sorry, Tony. Didn't mean to wish you dead there. I was thinking of Gary Shaw. Forgive me.
Breaking news, everybody! Breaking news.
Momentum up there. That real moment. So
yeah.
Gary Yeah, Gary, it's you I'm talking to. Sorry, not Tony. Tony's down here with us still. But for Gary, it would just be an exceptional thing for him to look over us and get us there.
That would be a magical end to the season. I feel like I now have to ask you, Rich, and I'm worried that you're going to say we're going to finish 9th and get to an FA Cup quarter-final, semi-final. But all jokes aside, man, what do you think we'll do? What do you think? What's your kind of hunch?
9th, knocked out by Crystal. No. So look, we can. I think we will finish 6th in the Premier League. We will win the FA Cup, and we will get to the semi-finals of the Champions League.
Yeah, I think that's pretty realistic, to be honest. I think that's pretty
And
realistic.
Kev's going to tell us we're going to win a lot.
Yeah, Liverpool have done some dodgy dealings transfer-wise with the Chiesa deal, so they're going to get docked 15 points. I think. Oh God, you shouldn't ask me this question. I wish I wasn't being asked it back. I think we will. I think we're going to win the Champions League. I don't know why. I just feel like we are. I mean, someone's got to win it, haven't they? And we're in the quarterfinals. And I think we're a good performance in Paris away. We're a bad performance in Paris away for me looking like an idiot, but we're a good performance in Paris away from us thinking this is on. I've just got a feeling, and I feel like, I don't know why, that I feel we're going to be disappointed in the FA Cup. I think we're gonna maybe not quite kind of get to the final, and I think we'll finish top 5. So I'm going to say Champions League top 5 finish, FA Cup semi-final. There you go. You take that, wouldn't you?
Oh, you'd 100%. I mean, it's quite an interesting, like, I guess, setup, isn't it? Because every game is so important, but every game will steer how he approaches the next game, because they're all like the different competitions. So if we do get a disappointing result against Paris on Wednesday, that will dictate how he approaches Southampton, because then it's like you've got to put everything into qualifying for next season's Champions League. And then then we've got Southampton and then Newcastle in the Premier League, which will then determine, how much does he put into the FA Cup, or what changes does he make in the FA Cup? So everything is going to lead into the next. But
I've just had a thought.
We're here for the ride.
I've just had a thought before we go. Thanks again, everyone watching. Unai likes to do special things, doesn't he? Imagine if he qualified for the Champions League twice this season, in the league position and by winning it. That'd be something to say to Blues fans, wouldn't it? Not only have we won it, we've also qualified for it twice in the same season. Look, whatever we think about what's going to happen, we are on the 6th of April. Normally, we haven't got anything at all to think about right now. Yeah. Listen. Look at this seat. I think it's a fantastic call. Who have we lost to? We've taken 2 points from Ipswich. Yeah, we've beaten Man City. We've beaten Bayern Munich. We've lost to Wolves. So yeah, I think crazy things happen, don't they? I don't know. I mean, I may well be absolutely wrong, and I hope we're not, because I'd love to win the FA Cup, but I've got to pick one of them. This is what we wanted. We wanted to be amongst the big time. We wanted to be in the conversation. We've got all the pundits talking about how great our squad is, what a special season it is. We've got players getting international recognition. It's just a great time to be an Aston Villa fan. So whatever happens, if it ends now and we get to the FA Cup semi, the Champions League quarters, and we finish in Europe, we'll still say, progression-wise, it's a good season, albeit slightly disappointing, but there's plenty to play for. So, Rich, great to be on the other side of the show tonight, hopefully for you. Get a few more questions asked at you. Thanks, mate. Hope you recover well. Martin, pleasure as always, mate. Top of the evening to you. And everyone in the comments, thanks so much for joining us. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.